Once Kahless made it across the field, he tore the thorns from his legs, and he used them to kill Feklar.
You are not Feklar. But I am.
Well. Here we are again talking Star Trek Lower Decks, the 5th and final season. We're up to episode 4, otherwise entitled A Farewell to Farms. Spoilers do lie ahead. If those aren't for you, consider this your final warning. Otherwise, let's crack into the episode. So now it looks like we're finally up to our mandatory Divergent episode of the season this week. You know, the one that points most of its focus outside the normal realm and the normal parameters of the show, while also giving us a fancy special intro. One of those classy prestige TV show feeling ones. We start things off here at Ma'as family moisture farm on Tatooine, except the moisture is Wormblood and the farm is on Kronos. He's apparently lost his captaincy after the events of last season with the whole Nick Locarno thing. Well, what is it? The opposite of acutiny, the brutiny. Let's go with that, the brutiny that occurred because of those events. Anywho, he's now working with his brother Maelor, squishing up some worms into blood wine, so that's kind of a neat touch. Unlike some of the other very special episodes, it doesn't take too long before we are introduced to the rest of our Lower Decks friends, as Mariner has been attempting to contact Ma'a throughout several different occasions at the very early outset of this episode, and she eventually shows up with Boimler in tow. While we're on the subject of Boims, I must ask you a question. What are we thinking about his facial hair journey at this stage? Definitely giving me a little bit of a creeper vibe, but I'm really loving both A, the commitment to the bit that they're doing throughout the entirety of the season so far, and B, how they actually put out altered footage in the Season 5 trailer in order to conceal this fact like it's a freaking Hulk in Infinity War. We also get some really fun in-universe revelations in this episode, the first and possibly the most important being that Klingons do, in fact, without a shadow of a doubt, 100% confirmed, have water.
Water? You guys have water, right?
Yes, we have water.
The second is we discover the name of Dr. Migleemo's species, the Klawakans, Waka Waka. While this is all sorts of useful and disgusting, I'm just going to go ahead and pop some random information on the screen for y'all to read as I effortlessly transition into the subplot back on the Cerritos. And this is probably where the episode falls the shortest. It's really fairly bland, I guess, following his attempts, Migleemo's that is, to impress a pair of super esteemed food critics from his homeworld. It's really not all that interesting of a plot to take up just so much real estate in the episode. However, it does contain some nuggets of enjoyment that I think could have really saved the element had it been pared way down. The chef of the mind bit actually made me chuckle.
I'm a psychologist, more of a chef of the mind. Therapy, my good Donald. I cook the mind.
And I also really enjoyed the quick bits of both Tendi,
Incredible dicing, Miss Tendi.
Assassin training.
and Rutherford helping out in the kitchen.
My implant says the sauce is ready, Dr. Chef.
But those were very blink and you miss it types of segments. I also didn't really mind learning the tidbit of the Klawakans being a cuisine-based culture or whatever, but this is a one-note joke that really gets played out fairly quickly. Bonus points here, however, if this was also an intended meta-commentary on the ever-increasing inclusion of Trek characters' obsessions with cooking becoming a very defining character trait. That being said, if you too want a defining character trait, why not join the channel like these Epicurean masters?
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. What are you talking about? I don't care.
Sliding right back into the main Klingon plot, we get the Edict of Unreturned Favors and all of the rules and rituals, etc. that really kind of bind Klingon society. This was a really good callback to just how often these random things are thrown into further Klingon culture, while also being our Starfleet characters' way to sneak their way into helping. Maybe I'm going a little bit too far out on a limb here, but it also made me think all the way back to the that very first episode of Voyager's Caretaker with the old Chakotay's life debt, which was brought up and then never mentioned again. Oh, and also a nice little joke about vacuuming the carpet on starships.
Let me guess, you never vacuum the carpet?
Excuse me?
Maybe not even a joke, but I liked it. Something that was absolutely an intentional inclusion was yet another pretty blatant call out to the wonderful classic TNG VCR board game, A Klingon Challenge.
Experience bees! You experience beige!
Unlike the Klingon reality that awaits you. Anyone on a holodeck? Experience beige.
Okay, he told me to draw a beige card. Let's take one of these and see what I get.
You will be the first to learn the power of a Klingon warrior. I place you in a stasis field.
While I wouldn't call the Klingon Rights Challenge gauntlet of events in this episode the most unique thing ever, they worked well for the plot and definitely showcased both good ingenuity and typical Klingon-y stuff, while allowing our characters to bond and develop in ways that pretty much felt earned, so I really have no real notes here, aside from the fact that I found it fairly clever that the only way to truly defeat the final level of Pain Sticks was to literally become Klingons.
Create a connection between the four of us, the voltage will spread evenly through our bodies.
Ludicrous! Oh! Get over here and clutch me! This is humiliating.
Nice to see more call-outs and tie-ins to other very early Lower Decks adventures in the return of Corinne from only the second episode of the show. I think it was Envoys might have been the title. Also providing a bit of contrast to show how Boimler has grown, or at least changed since then. But, and go back to last video if you want my simple man joke again, but as one, I am also always very happy to see pink Klingon blood, so...
Hooray, responsibility! Hooray, responsibility!
When all is said and done, Ma'ah gets to be captain again, but he'll have to work his way back up from a very low-level captain into something great. Probably this is something we'll follow up on a little bit later in the season, at least briefly before the end. Possibly when the ship or the Cerritos or something goes on, help is needed, he'll answer the call. But the real revelations at the end have to do with the space holes.
We've been assuming these dimensional rifts are a natural occurrence, but now it's looking like someone's making them.
That's right, they're seemingly artificial and being created for some purpose. Will all of this be an accident, someone trying to claw their way into our realm, a breakdown of the multiverse trying to reform itself into a single unified universe? What do you think is going on here? Wild thought here, but do you think they would ever go so far as to break down the entire universe at the end of the show, only to reform it in live action instead of animation for continued adventures in that realm? All in all, I thought this was a pretty strong episode that seemed very determined to have a B-plot just to remind us of the ship and the other main cast, but one that probably wasn't ultimately needed. I'm not sure what side story I would have told in its place, but it did feel a bit like these elements didn't quite mesh, aside from, I guess you could say, the food elements, like the blood wine creation and the food on the ship were sort of kind of similar, I suppose. Not a huge issue, just something to note. But what are your thoughts? Did you like this episode of Lower Decks? What the heck do you think is going on? Is the space-time continuum unraveling purely because of Boimler's facial hair? Will we see Badgie, or Peanut Hamper, or Vendome again before the end? Whatever you think, leave all of that down below, and while you're there, like, share, subscribe, join, and do all those YouTube things. But until next time...
Well, are you going to help me?
Ha! You are beyond help, brother.